Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with episode 3 of the Entertainment Braimer Sports Podcast. We took last week off just to digest the fact that sports is finally back. We got the MLB back as well, the NHL and the NBA. And the NFL is also in the works too. Just not back yet, but we are getting ready for the startup of the NFL season as well, which is why I wanted to dedicate today's episode on the fact that this past week, the NFL came out with the top 100 players list, all voted on and orchestrated by the players. So I wanted to, talk about the list in this episode, as well as bring somebody on that I know is just as big of a football fan as I am, my older brother, Kenneth Braimer. He's currently a grad student at Baylor University where he is studying to earn his master's degree in sports management. He's also a graduate assistant for the American Football Coaches Association. So without further ado, please welcome to the show, my brother, Kenneth Braimer. What's up, bro? How you doing?
I'm good. Just got back home from physical therapy. As you know, recently tore ACL back in October. Been rehabbing that since January. So just grinding.
You gonna tell the world how you tore it? Just you wanted to bring that out that you got back from physical therapy.
Ironically, I actually tore it playing football, and when I did it, I didn't even realize it was torn. Kept playing.
Since we already talked about football and with everything that's going on with the world with sports, you've seen that the top 100 list dropped. You get a chance to see it on NFL Network.
I didn't see it technically on NFL Network. Usually, I used to be into them and watching them each week for each 10, but now like I wait till the whole list comes out so I can look at it in its entirety. So yeah, I just recently, a couple days ago, recently looked at the list and it had my couple hindsights that I had about it.
That's exactly what I wanted to bring you on. 'Cause I know you probably have something you want to talk about with the list. I have a lot, so I want to talk about with the list. Um, I believe the overall list was decent. I really wanted to cover the entire list, but we can begin with the top 10 because that's what's notably being talked about right now because that's the last part of the list that came out recently with the top 10. And we have a lot of skill players on the list in the top 10. Obviously, the MVP, reigning MVP, Lamar Jackson, number 1. Russell Wilson, number 2. Aaron Donald, number 3. Followed up by Patrick Mahomes at 4. Mike Thomas at 5. Christian McCaffrey at number 6. George Kittle, surprisingly, at number 7. Number 8, DeAndre Hopkins. Number 9, Stephon Gilmore, the reigning defensive player of the year, as well as the top NFL rushing leader, Derrick Henry, at number 10 to follow up the list. I'm going to start with you first. How do you feel about that top 10? And if you even wanted to change it your own way, what do you feel should be the top 10 in your opinion?
I actually am okay with the top 10. Now, how you move the positions inside the top 10, that's a different story. But the actual players that are in the top 10, solid. I would bring Aaron Donald down to the sixth spot and move everybody else up for one. So my list would be Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes, Mike Thomas, Christian McCaffrey, Aaron Donald. Then I wouldn't even put Aaron Donald there. I would put I believe Stephon Gilmore is ahead of them. So it'll be Stephon Gilmore, Aaron Donald, then DeAndre Hopkins and Derrick Henry.
Mm. I mean, for me personally, I can understand why Aaron Donald's in the top 10 based on his presence and his impact in the league, commanding double teams and triple teams week in and week out. But honestly, his production wasn't as high as last year where he was the number 1 player on the list. If it was up to me, I would keep Lamar number 1, Russell Wilson number 2, move Mahomes to number 3. Then I would have Mike Thomas at 4. And then that would bring me to McCaffrey at 5, followed by Stephon Gilmore, Aaron Donald, Derrick Henry, then George Kittle. I believe George Kittle, being in the top 10, he should just be 10. I honestly know his impact, obviously, with what he's doing with the 49ers, but him being higher than 10 is disrespectful to the other players like Derrick
No,
Henry, all those other guys that are in the top 10. They should be above him, in my opinion.
I don't agree with that because George Kittle is the prototypical tight end. Every team wants a tight end like George Kittle. Mind you, Travis Kelsey, he's also amazingly talented tight end, and he came in at
He was number 18 on the list.
right. But what separates George Kittle from Travis Kelsey? George Kittle can block like he's a tackle. He's both sides. He gets more reps probably than Travis Kelsey. If you want to be honest, well, it depends on the scheme because he's an air raid team, but George Kittle on any football team compared to George Kittle and Travis Kelsey, he'll get on the field more because he's a better blocker. And then you look at the production that he had on his team. He doesn't. He has what you would call, ghost stats. Like he has stats that doesn't show up on the stat board. Like his blocking ability is one of those stats. He creates that run scheme would not be as good as it is without George Kittle on it.
See, that's my big thing with the list because I don't know if they're going based off of just the player or they're going off the stats. Because if that's the case, Lamar Jackson should be number one. We're going off of what he did this season. That's why I
Right,
respect him being number one.
right.
Travis Kelsey had better stats than George Kittle this season, and he's
As a
away
receiver,
at 18.
like I told you, those blocking stats that don't show up on the stat sheet, there's a reason why the 49ers had the best rushing attack. Well, second best rushing attack. Their line was ridiculous. And you're a tight end. There's times you're lining up on the line. Like he had to learn how to block too. And there's plenty of film from this year alone that there are a lot of big runs that got, you know, gained from running backs or any runner because George Kittle sealed the block.
So what you're saying is George Kittle is that high based on the fact that he's being rewarded as a tight end and a blocker because pretty much no 49er off of the lineman is on this list.
I understand. Like he's a receiver and a O lineman, but his impact on a team is bigger than that. Like other teams, other DNs, like it's different when you have the whole defensive impact of like scouting report. Like we know, like this guy right here is super physical. Got to like get like bodies on him.
Right.
DNs gotta have good hands because if he gets a hand on you, gotta keep that arm extended. If he get a hand on you, he's sealing you. He's strong. He's agile like a receiver. He has great hands. He can block like a tackle. Like so I wouldn't put him above Stephon Gilmore, but DeAndre Hopkins and Derrick Henry from just last year alone, yeah, I would put him over them too.
He just couldn't be above Stephon Gilmore
Not Stephon. Everybody else is fine.
or D Hop above my list,
I mean,
or even Derrick Henry. Because what
yeah,
Derrick Henry did and his impact, like he pretty much willed that team into the playoffs in the back end by himself, pretty much until Tannehill got on board too. Because once he got that starting job, it was kind of shaky at the beginning.
right.
But what I'm saying is, my big take on this whole list is like they're kind of dibbling in one thing and dabbling in another. And what I mean by that is like you're rewarding stats from this season, but also you're not really crediting people for their production. You're crediting them for their impact on a team.
Let me ask you this. If George Kittle was not on the 49ers team, do they make the Super Bowl?
I mean, they have weapons, yeah.
So you think they still make an NFC championship game without Kittle?
Yes.
Right.
Emmanuel Sanders was productive. Kendrick Bourne was productive in his role as the other receiver. Um, Mostert, running back, Matt Breida, they were productive. Defense was the reason why they got so far. So I mean,
You're really down.
George Kittle like that.
You're really downplaying George Kittle right now.
I'm playing George Kittle, but you gotta realize that defense was the anchor for their team. George Kittle wasn't really effective. What happened in the Super Bowl?
Let's find out.
In the Super Bowl, George Kittle really didn't have an impact like he had all season. Because you can know what impact he had because you're a Saints fan and you remember that game. That boy was very impactful and he dominated y'all.
It wasn't okay. First of all, it wasn't even like that. It was one play at the very end. Besides, even after that play, had it not been for the face mask, they would have still not even been in range to hit the field goal. So it wasn't even the actual catch that gave them the game. It was the face mask.
Sure. But in terms of looking up George Kittle's Super Bowl stats,
He had 4 catches, 36. I mean, you got to think this is San Francisco. They run the ball almost
correct.
3 times they throw it. Like in this game, Jimmy Garoppolo threw the ball 31 times. He threw 31 passes to Patrick Mahomes 42.
Right. But those passes were near the back end of the game because they were down. They were down like 10 going to the fourth quarter.
Correct. I mean, the 49ers was a position where they didn't have to even pass the ball. And crazy about it is George Kittle had the most catches. Oh no, Debo Samuel had 5, but he had the second most catches in the game.
I didn't even bring up Debo. I did not even bring up Debo. So you talking about George Kittle? Debo was probably the most productive on that offense.
I didn't about being the most productive.
Oh, you just like without him being on the team? I get it. Yeah, I get it.
Now George Kittle, that run game is not how it is.
Right.
They're not running with the ease like that. They don't have a tight end like that. But like I said, George Kittle had the second most catches for the 49ers with 4. And then they're saying everybody like 42 yards was the most. So to compare it to that game and everybody else that got receiving yards that game, George Kittle was still one of the most productive in the passing game for that game.
Travis Kelce had 6 catches, 43 yards, and a touchdown in the Super Bowl.
That's really comparable. Put George Kittle on the other team where the team that threw the ball, 11 more times, he might have the same stat line.
Yeah, I mean, that's just my overall point of this list because like, we can go off of stats, but I don't think this list is fully about stats, though. Half of it is stats of the past season, and half of it is just the reputation the players have in the league. Because, like, Tom Brady is 14. Like, I know we was talking top 10, but now I'm getting anxious to go out of the top 10 right now because out of the top 10 is also some crazy names that are in positions that I don't think that should be. Some should be higher, some should be lower. They got the Honey Badger. You know I got the Honey Badger jersey on right now. He's 39. And another DB by the name of Jalen Ramsey is 37. Everybody knows Jalen Ramsey. Everybody knows his reputation. But last season, he was dealing with back injuries and only played in like 8 or 9 games. Matthew was available every game, all the way to the Super Bowl. Probably had one of the most productive seasons of his career. Even though it's a position of like advantage for 37 for Jalen Ramsey, 39 for Tyrann Mathieu, it's still like those things right there makes you question the list.
How?
It questions if it's going off of this season or just reputation because Jalen Ramsey shouldn't be higher than him if you're going based off of this season. And if you want to go off this season, some people on the list, like the top passing leader, Jameis Winston's not on the list. Carson Wentz not on the list. That's what I'm trying to go with this. Like, people that are leading the league and like putting up stats that, you know what I'm saying, getting notoriety for the season, people are not getting on the top 100. And I'm wondering, like, what is all the formula for the players to decide?
I mean, you have to do research on. But my thing is, I mean, it's by the players. Most players they only know what they know, and most of that comes from scouting reports. Like obviously, like as far as like Jalen Ramsey and Tyrann Matthew, you have a point there. That's why it's so even. I mean, obviously you can switch them; it won't really make a difference. But as far as the thing goes, what you said with James Winston, like people know in the scouting report, James Winston's a starting quarterback. But some teams, there's probably some players that probably look at James Winston and be like, "Oh, this is James Winston. Like he probably gonna throw us a couple. He's pretty, solid, but he gonna make a mistake eventually." Rather than another quarterback that made the list. And then like Tom Brady, obviously, listen, Tom Brady's the go. We gotta be on our P's and Q's at all time. So when a player comes to make a list, they're more inclined to think to put Tom Brady on it before Jameis Winston, even though Jameis Winston shattered him when it came to stats last season. When I wouldn't say shattered, but obviously had better stats.
You got to take account of what was in New England with Tom at this season. No options really.
But with that being said, 14, no, that was my first thing. Tom Brady's too high, in my
And
honest.
they got Aaron Rodgers 16, right? Close
Mhm.
to Tom Brady, which makes that very debatable as well.
That those high ratings is obviously because it's like the impact, like the greatness of them. Like they like even though they may not have a season like they did, like any given game they can shred you. Like I
Yeah,
don't. I believe 14 is too high. I would have put Tom Brady in the 20s. I'll put them in the 20s.
I was going to talk to you about this because I was kind of mad because I looked at the stats and how Drew Brees was 12. I'm thinking now that after I'm talking to you about Tom Brady, that I should argue that Tom Brady and Deshaun Watson should switch positions. Deshaun Watson's at 20 and Tom Brady's at 14.
I would agree.
I would agree to move Deshaun Watson to 14 and put Brady at 20 since you said he should at least be in the 20s, not in the teens.
I agree with that.
Because
Oh, to be honest, to make it even worse, I'll put Deshaun Watson, not even worse, but make it like obviously unbiased. I would take Drew Brees, put him at 14, put Deshaun Watson at 12.
that's what I was saying. Because I was about to start this whole conversation with how Drew Brees is above my boy.
Understandable. He missed 5 games, even though he still had a good season when he came back.
Right. Crazy thing is he missed 5 games and then he had one more pass touchdown than Deshaun Watson.
That is crazy though.
But yeah, like I said, this list has this like debatable subjects you want to talk about with the really low rating of what's his name? Keenan Allen at 77. Uh they have a rookie running back by the name of Josh Jacobs ranked higher than him at 72. Um Different things like that. As well as they sprinkled in a few offensive linemen in certain areas that I'm like, okay, like I know he's a very good offensive lineman, but how would you really just decide to put him above like a skill player who's very, um, you know, important to their team as well as not saying the offensive linemen are not, you know, big people like to give credit to the success of the team.
Like I'm saying, like the players are the ones that are making this list. Obviously, they know they're game changers. Linemen in the game, like you go against him, it's gonna be a rough day. And you just gotta really like dig in on that. I would like to know exactly what the factors are behind it too.
And then also, not talk about the players, but talk about the conference now. I found it kind of odd how it's more NFC players than AFC players when AFC out of the past 10 years. I did based on the 10 years because they've been doing this for the past 10 years with this NFL Top 100 list. But for the past 10 years, the AFC has won 6 out of the 10 Super Bowls. But on this list, it's like, I think it's 60 to 40 NFC, 60 NFC, 40 AFC players. I don't know.
Well, this year for sure, the NFC was way more competitive. There was 3 teams in the NFC that finished 13-3.
Yeah. Uh, and also, it was a lot of competition within the divisions as well. I feel like I can't tell you off the top of my head who's a snub.
Matt
Come
Ryan.
who?
Matt Ryan. Just because he's a quarterback, you know what I'm saying?
No, for
And
me.
I mean, he didn't have a good season. His numbers fell off a little bit, but it wasn't much to like say he's still like a top quarterback in the league.
If you're snubbing Matt Ryan, you're definitely snubbing Jameis. You're definitely snubbing him.
Yeah. But speaking of quarterbacks, though, I don't like how Jimmy Garoppolo is. I don't. I believe Jimmy Garoppolo should not be ranked higher than Dak Prescott. Simply because of how Dak Prescott had the number one passing offense in the league, and Jimmy Garoppolo is more of a game manager.
Just like you talked about with me when I was talking about Jalen Ramsey and Tyrann Matthew, that's kind of flip flop. They 40, Garoppolo's 43, Dak is 46. So I mean, you can flip flop that. It's not that um, that big a gap with the rating. But I see
Mhm.
what you're saying right there. I mean, Garoppolo is more of a field general. He took his team to the Super Bowl. I mean, you got to credit him for that. Dak has only won one playoff game so far in Dallas. So
Um, Chris Godwin should be in the 20s
Chris Godwin in the 20s.
at 38, in between Jalen Ramsey and Tyron Matthew. Big boy, they had the second most passing yards last year behind Mike Thomas.
Receiving yards, yeah. But my thing on Chris Godwin, I like that spot for him based on the fact that he is a newbie to me. Like we talk about stats, then yeah, he should be higher. But like you said, it's on stats as well as reputation in the league, and he's one of them players that's like
He's still making a name for himself.
big a name for himself because you can tell this list was predicated on that because Mike Evans is 30. You know what I'm saying? The other receiver that, takes more of the targets and receptions than you do on your team is 30, and you're right close behind him at 38. So I feel like that's a good spot for him for what he did this past year. And he can really build on that, you know what I'm saying, with Tom Brady walking in the door. So I feel like his 38, being ranked there is actually good. I would have been surprised, honestly, because he was in the 20s. Because the 20s, it says Deshaun Watson at 21, Deshaun Watson at 20, excuse me. Dalvin Cook at 21, Tyreek Hill 22, Cam Jordan 23, Zeke 24, TJ Watt 25, Von Miller 26, Jamal Adams 27, Richard Sherman 28, Quentin Nelson 29, and then Mike Evans at 30. So I don't see anybody that can be interchangeable with Chris Godwin at 38. Maybe higher up in the 30s, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't see him changing with Aaron Jones from the Green Bay Packers at 33 because he does so much for that team.
Oh, that's what I was going to compare him to. I feel like they should switch because he only had like if you add Aaron Jones's running and receiving yards, you get 1,500. Chris Godwin had almost as many yards as him, just you know receiving. His production was more, yes, but he got a chance. He got the ball more.
Who Aaron Jones got the ball more?
Definitely got the ball more. He's a running back.
Either back, yeah. And then obviously, in Green Bay, they're like the Patriots. They didn't have weapons, so they utilized their backs in their receiving game. So same reason with Christian McCaffrey. McCaffrey had 1,000
Oh, yeah,
receiving
he's
and rushing.
crazy.
Ain't no way you're gonna sit here and tell me he's not top five, and you got him at 6.
Oh no, he's definitely my top five. I would say Aaron Donald got to go drop, and they all got to move up.
That's what I'm saying. That's what the big kill for me was. The big kill
McCaffrey has to at
was
least be five. He has to at least be five.
at least be 5. That's why my big kill is McCaffrey, and then how Kettle was so high at 7. Maybe I don't watch a lot of 49ers games, but I'm telling you, like, Kettle's production is great for a tight end, but at the same time, it's like the other people in the top 10, I don't see him being higher than any one of them. He has to
I
be
do.
on my list.
Not Stephon Gilmore, but I do.
But now, in terms of the rookies, there was a few rookies on this list, with one of the rookies being in the top 20, which is Nick Bosa, DN for the 49ers at 17. Um, this draft class, coming up, 2020 draft class is studded with talent. I was going to give my opinion on who I thought would be in it. I'm going to just choose one from the AFC, one from the NFC. I didn't want to just be saying names based off of like what they did in college, because right now they in NFL now, and it's what do with the pandemic. They're 10 steps behind of what they really need to be at right now going into training camp. So I feel like for the AFC, my guy that I think that would be on the list, um, I would think Jerry Judy is going to be on the list. Jerry Judy in the AFC for the Broncos. I do not see how he can't be on the list, because he has Drew Lock. Drew Lock has been consistent and shows spurts of what he can do, and he's young. I feel like they got some good weapons for him, with also getting the receiver from Penn State, KG Hamlin, in the draft as well. And they also got Cortland Sutton, who didn't elevate his game. They got the running backs. They got Phillip Lindsay, and they got Melvin Gordon now to add that. So it's like they're adding pieces around him. What happens when teams add pieces around the quarterback? Elevates the game. And then for my NFC pick, it was tough for me because I was thinking about the drafting, and I think this guy was stolen by this team, and I feel like he's gonna be up there based off of the fact that he should have went higher in the draft, and he went to a team that's really going to utilize him, which is Isaiah Simmons for the Cardinals. Um, he went later on in the draft. The Giants picked offensive lineman, which they needed to aid that offensive line, but I feel like he should have went number 4 to the Giants. But him falling back just elevated the Cardinals. Obviously, what they did in the offseason with adding on to their receiver core hurt my heart, but it's going to elevate them a whole lot. And also with him on that defense, it's going to obviously elevate the defense. I wouldn't be surprised if I see both Jerry Judy and Isaiah Simmons on the list next season.
Yeah, I have to go back and look at the draft, but yeah, Jared Judy definitely was my AFC pick when you brought up the question. And as far as NFC, yeah, definitely Isaiah Simmons and also Chase Young as well. He's a physical force. So, and we'll see. Hopefully, one of the rookie quarterbacks cracks it. I don't know if Herbert will win his starting job against Tyrod. I feel like they're gonna go safer with Tyrod just to test the waters and then give Herbert the reins a little later. Tua, they said that he's looking good. He's actually gonna get a chance to actually compete for the starting job. So there may be a chance that Tua is a starter week 1. And you know how he is. If he's anything like his old self, he at least be somewhat decent. Now, what we're looking for as far as the twitchiness that Tua had, he's very accurate. He's like the left hand Drew Brees in my honest opinion, but he could potentially make that list too. And who's another rookie quarterback I forgot? Oh, Burrow. He has a really big task in front of him, righting that wrong. It's going to be tough because Cincinnati has a weak O line, but if they can give him some decent time to throw, he's very capable of making the read, making the throw. There's no throw that he can't make, especially outside the numbers, out routes, slot fades. He really excelled on those with LSU. So I would say watch out for Burrow, Chase Young, Isaiah Simmons, Jerry Judy. I guess look at some other AFC people. Yeah, they all got really good chances.
And finally, before we wrap this up with the overall opinion of this list, I wanted to talk about some people that wasn't on the list this year that's going to be on it. Who do you feel? Well, we talked about snubs, but I wanted to talk about who we think that who didn't get snubbed, just didn't have a good season, didn't play, or what, is gonna be on this next list?
Well, before you, and I guess I say this one because it's something that's actually because it's not really being looked at much. You don't see not one kicker or punter on this list. And if you had to put anybody up there, Jay Tucker got to be on this list. Do you agree?
I
Hey,
absolutely agree. Who has a bigger perception in the kicking game in the league besides this dude? The most accurate kicker in the league. He's been in the league for about 9 or 10 years. I don't think he ever touched this list. I can do my research, do my digging, see if he's been on the list before, but the fact that he's not on the list, and the Ravens had one of their best seasons this year. You know what I'm saying? Justin Tucker has been multi-year Pro Bowl kicker, has a resume that can obviously put him at least 199 at least. So I don't see. I agree with you with Justin Tucker.
it's so ironic. Actually, the Ravens just came out with an article talking about snubs, and there was a whole article on Justin Tucker, and in it says this: since the inception of the NFL Top 100 players in 2011, Adam Vinatieri is the only kicker to make the list, and he was 98.
That's crazy.
I feel like Jay Tucker should definitely be a second kicker to make this list.
I would put him in like the high 80s, low 90s. He deserves to be in there, period.
Sure.
So, like, we have like 5 or 6 offensive linemen in here, you know. Not saying that knocking offensive linemen, but also you got to credit everybody. Special teams is a key asset in football.
Would you take okay, look at this. Allen Robinson at 93, Chicago. Take him off to put Jay Tucker at 93.
Who is Allen Robinson? I would move. Yeah, I would move him.
Like take him off and put Jay Tucker right there.
Yes, I'll even move some people in that 90. I would take Chris Carson off and put him
Yeah.
there. Uh, I'm not too sure. I'm not too big on Buda Baker, but Buda Baker, he might get the boot from me. Chris Carson and Allen Robinson. I don't think you could. They're interchangeable, like you said. You could plug Justin Tucker in there for them.
Yeah.
His body of work that he's done throughout the years. But like I was telling you, that's how my big question was. Like, if we knew what this list was, predicated on, what's the formula to put this list together? Like, when they tell the players to make it, what do they tell them to base it off of? Based off of this season, the person's productivity throughout his career, his impact in his first year, because Lamar Jackson, this is the first time being on a list. His first time being on the list is number one. So, we obviously know his impact, but if that was the case, Patrick Mahomes should have been number one last year. Patrick Mahomes been number 4 for the past 2 years. So we're talking about impact. We're talking about the productivity, them leading their team all the way to the Super Bowl. What? I just need to know what's going on. If I knew that, I'd probably have my bias and my opinion would probably be way different than what it is right now, but we don't know.
My thing is though, looking at the players, I doubt there's not one. I give it. There's no more than 10 players that went and did that list that didn't have Lamar Jackson at number one.
Lamar Jackson would have been a given because, like, it's just like when you're thinking about it, you're only thinking on what's going on right now. Like,
right, that year, Lamar Jackson was the best football player in the NFL. Easy.
like everybody was saying, Lamar Jackson was that player where grown men, NFL players, was going back home to watch him play. Like, they wanted to see him. He was must-see TV, not just for the fans, but also the players in the league.
And that's what I was gonna say about this list. At the end of the day, this list is for us, like the outside consumer, to look at and indulge. They really don't necessarily. There are people that yes, they care about their little number, but in the world of sports, and not just football, sports in general, recognized game, everybody knows that. Even if you're not on the list, you have respect. People know, you a good player.
Yeah, that's what I was getting to when I asked you about who you thought that wasn't on the list that's going to be on it next year. I already know for sure Patrick
I'm,
Peterson's going to be on the list because you knew what happened last year where he missed half the season. Well, not half, but 60 games due to suspension. But Patrick Peterson, his body of work, to me, he's the best cornerback in the game. I mean, you talk about if you go back to body of work, he's been to the Pro Bowl every year besides this year because he missed half the season. But other than that, there's nothing else that you can really say about him and what he hasn't done in the league because he's really been productive and has elevated the Cardinals since he's been in the league. As well
right.
as I'm sold on Cam Newton getting back into just showing everybody what he can do and him just having that chip on his shoulder to, silence his doubters. And I feel like he'd be on the list too. It'd be very interesting to see what he does for New England um, in that system with Josh McDaniels. Um, I see what he did for Tom Brady, but he has a different player in Cam Newton. So I would be interested to see how he allows Cam Newton to, use his talents for that offense.
Yeah, but yeah, I agree with that. But mine's gonna be Carson Wentz. He is good, and gotta get the receiver room right. But also, all the injuries are coming. They're healthy. Secondary is getting back healthy, and they got a really good corner in Darius Slay to help boost that secondary as well. So he's not gonna be on the field as much. He's not gonna be down. He's not gonna always have to throw the ball all the time. So yeah, I feel like Carson Wentz is definitely have a bounce back year next year, and he should end up on this list.
In terms of who you got for the AFC side, if we're doing one for one, like one AFC, one NFC, that's what I did with Cam Newton and Patrick Peterson.
I didn't recognize that. Yeah, I probably would say Cam Newton too. Who else? I'm trying to think. Well, I mean Joe Burrow, but you said who didn't make the list should have Ben Roethlisberger, but I mean he was hurt. I feel like he. Oh wait, did Juju Smith-Schuster make this list?
Ooh, wait, hold on.
Oh, nah,
That's the crazy thing. Juju ain't made the list.
he did not make the list. Him. That's that. Yes, he definitely has a chip on his shoulder. He's trying to prove that he's a true number one receiver.
That's very surprising. Now I didn't even think of Juju Smith. Juju didn't make the list. Odell, Jarvis. I mean, those are reasonable names. Amari Cooper. Um, all
So
the people are more like productive and have a better resume than Juju Smith. But
yeah,
I mean, I didn't even.
I'm pretty sure he was in the next 10 out. Oh wait, I just thought about that. That should be something that the NFL should do as well to make it more interesting. The top 10 out.
That's really like just. They probably would do that based on the backlash they get from the media. That's probably just a list, but
Yes, what I'm saying. It's an entertainment thing. Marketing wise, that's perfect. Then to be more interested, I said, oh, who made it that should have made it, didn't make it, and then it's even more debate. So then instead of always having the top 10 debate, now people are more indulged to look at the bottom of the list now. It's like, oh, who should have?
yeah. But at the end of the day, that's why they don't bring the list out straight from the beginning. They do 10 positions a week. Or they like right now due to the pandemic, they was doing it every day where they was going from 100 all the way to number one.
Wait, did you think I meant by doing the top 10 out first or last?
I'm saying in general, like if they came out with the list 1 to 100 in one day, I'm pretty sure everybody would indulge in the entire list. Vice is just doing top 10, you know what I'm saying? But if
Mhm.
how they've been doing it, just doing 10 slots every day this week, like they did. Normally they do it each week, but due to the pandemic, it's like people want to watch stuff on TV.
Right.
So if they did it like that, then I can see what you're saying, as in everybody would have their views and opinions straight off the list based on them dropping it all at one time. You get
Yeah, I mean, my thing is though, it's literally all about the entertainment, like the television, the broadcast is really all it is. So like this airtime.
Yes, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Like going based off of that, if they had a extra show, or even not even a show, they can do it. They can do it like because then they used to have some kind of like uh they have a talk show after the list, and then they can announce the top 10 out.
They most likely have a talk show and then talk to obviously the number one player, but they should at least have like a list where, because they get the list for everybody in the league that participates in it. There's you can take people that aren't in it based on the overall like gathering and see which ones were like outliers and just pick them like, oh, people had Juju, 50 people had Juju Smith, but he didn't make it over such and such. He had 51 votes.
Oh
Big.
yeah, then using data too. I mean, that'd make it more interesting too. I was just, yeah. I mean, there's many things you can do. Take it with it, like make it a little bit more than what it usually is. I feel like people would really want to know. You want me to grade it?
Yeah, what's your take on it? What's your overall perspective on it? I mean, I said it was decent. I wouldn't really, if I gave it a grade, I would give it just a straight C, just a solid C.
See, I had a B minus.
B minus.
Like, as far as like the players, my thing is this list. I feel like they got it right with all the players. All thing you have to do is just re-switch positions. That's better than having players that was out that really should have been in. It's different. I'll give it a B minus.
I see what you're saying. I mean, me personally, like some players were snubbed, and some people on this list were put up here based off of stats. At the end of the day, I'm kind of mad you had it at a B minus. I mean, this list isn't, I don't think B worthy, but at least like a solid C. It gives me a reason to be interested to see what happens next year and what they do with the list.
Right.
But man, appreciate you for stopping by though. Always good to talk to you about sports. In the meantime, stay safe, man.
All right. Appreciate it.